Hello and welcome back to World's Good Reviews and More. Yeah, wow. This is my WrestleMania 31 review, and I didn't think I'd be this happy, I have to say. After the start, I was none too pleased with what I thought was going to be an average show. But it turns out, obviously, I've got to go straight into that main event, guys. I'm sorry if you want me to go through it. Chronologically, but I've just got to talk about it. I mean, that was what I wanted. I wanted the cash in, and it was executed perfectly because I just didn't think it was going to happen. I really didn't. I thought they were going to hand the baton to Reigns, or even retain with Brock. But that was a great ending, and I'm so happy for Seth Rollins. I think it was the best. It was the best way for the fans, but also for the company because this way, Reigns doesn't look as strong as he would if he was the champion. But if they'd given it to Reigns, they'd have upset Brock because Brock's just signed and he would have wanted a title, or at least to look relatively strong. And if they'd given it to Brock, obviously Reigns would have looked weak and the whole build-up would have been pointless and it would have been a killer to his career. So this was the best outcome really for the fans, but also for the company. And Brock Lesnar doesn't look weak because he was never pinned. Reigns looks strong. They had that bit of kind of like an Austin Bret Hart moment, from days gone by where Reigns was taking punishment after punishment after punishment and just never gave up. Was always kicking out of the thing, and in the end it was just a little bit too much for him with the curb stomp. But it reminded me of Austin being the sharpshooter. So all in all, it was a great outcome for everybody really concerned, and I don't think anyone can be disappointed with that. Because Lesnar fans saw Lesnar get dominated, and Reigns not. Reigns fans saw that he was that plucky character, and Rollins fans, they got the cash in, and I'm really excited to see where they go with this now. Through the match, I was thinking if Reigns wins, where does Lesnar go? What does he do? Especially if he's going to have a limited schedule again, but now it opens up for triple threat matches, with Rollins and Reigns and Lesnar, and maybe even put some other guys in there, fingers crossed Ambrose, but you never know. So, like I say, I can't wait. Just a great match, a great finish to WrestleMania, and if I'm going to start off, then overall, it was a good pay-per-view, I have to say. It was my first WrestleMania in about 10 years or so. So, absolutely awesome finish. And I'm just so happy for Seth Rollins, and I'm really excited to see where they go with this now, guys. There's lots of different avenues they can go down, and Rollins v Reigns, it's good. Deep rest now. So let's go through the rest of the card, okay? The pre-show, I thought 2 hours was too long. The first hour was just talking and promos, which we all got to see anyway in the main card. But the first match, Cesaro and Tyson Kidd defended their tag titles against the Usos. Los Matadores and New Day. Early on, one of the Usos got an injury, so I wonder if that was something, preconceived. He had an injury before, and they just knocked him out of the match. Really, I wonder if that injury hadn't been sustained, whether the Usos may have won this match. But in the end, it was quite a straightforward win for Cesaro and Kidd, and I was happy with that decision. Really. It looks like they're going to give New Day a push because that's all the panel talked about afterwards. It was the New Day, so we'll see what happens with that. Then you had the Andre the Battle Memorial, the first, similar to the tag match. Really, it was just bodies everywhere to begin with, and there was hardly any cohesion to it, and you couldn't really follow it until the last couple. And obviously, the big thing was Miz and Mizdow arguing, and the Mizdow eliminating the Miz. And for a second there, you thought, hey, obviously this might be Mizdow's moment, but in the end, Big Show kind of eliminated him. And I guess from a realistic point of view, you have to praise WWE for that because realistically, the Mizdow was never gonna eliminate the Big Show in physical stature. But obviously, it would have been nice for the Mizdow to get Sandow to get that push, rather than someone who's been around for 20 plus years. But I suppose in some ways it is fitting because He's never run a battle royal, apparently, the Big Show, and obviously when he was first in the business, he was billed as Andre the Giant's son. So in a way, it's fitting, but for me, it wasn't the right win. Then you move on to the main card, and this is where I got disappointed. Because I was looking forward to this match, and I think it was a bit of a letdown, to be honest. It was quick, out of the way. There wasn't really much skill involved as such. It was just kind of a bit of a hammering together, and that's the IC match. Archery was pretty much pointless in this match. So was Stardust. You had a bit of a thing with Harper. Harper did quite well. Ziggler really didn't do that much. My guy, obviously Ambrose, I enjoyed his work, and he got was it powerbombed through the ladder by Harper. Took a good bump there, did Ambrose, but in the end, obviously Bryan took the win, and to me, it's not the right thing. I would have put it on Ambrose or even Harper. It makes no sense for, I suppose in some ways it makes sense for Bryan to have the strap because it brings prestige back to the title, but for Bryan it's a step down, and for the title it's not really the right thing for me personally. I don't agree with that. I don't really like Daniel Bryan that much, so that's just my opinion, and the match was a bit of a letdown, a big letdown for me. Then they had that thing later on where Bryan met all the old champions, and it was nice to see Bret Hart and a few of the guys, Roddy Piper and Pat Patterson and the rest of them. But to me, it would have made more sense to put it on someone like Ambrose for the future, kind of thing. But you know, Ambrose is supposed to be getting a push after WrestleMania, so we'll see where that goes. Maybe he gets back in the scene. But for me, it wasn't the right win, and the commentary was particularly bad on this one, I have to say, from JBL. But normally he's all right. Next, you had Orton v Rollins, which, looking back on now, you kind of think Rollins recovered. I really don't like Randy Orton as a face. I think he works much better as a heel. I can't buy into him as a face. He just doesn't look like a face. He hasn't got the mic skills for a face. But a good match, entertaining. Rollins is such a great athlete, and that's why I'm so happy for him to be champion. You know, I really am. Great athlete, great performer, and I really do think he's going to go far. He really is the future, as proclaimed. This was a pretty straightforward Orton win, and I guess that puts to bed that feud, unless they insert Orton into the title picture, which they could do realistically. They may do that. So we'll see if he gets put into it. But nice finish as well with going for the curb stomp and then to the RKO. That was good athleticism, I have to say, from Rollins. So and good work from Orton too. Next, this is when it kind of turned for me because it was a great moment. Triple H v Sting. So I wasn't quite sure which way this was going to go, obviously, because of the motivations of each person and how it would look. Triple H's entrance was daft, to say the least. You know, it was just a shameless plug for Terminator. They obviously got paid a lot of money to do that, and I thought it was pointless. And it just really irritated me that they incorporated Terminator into it. But Arnie going in the Hall of Fame and the whole event being sponsored by Terminator Genesis, I guess it was going to happen. It just looked tacky as out. But then they redeemed themselves. We finally got to see what we all wanted to see if we grew up in the Attitude Era, like I did, and DX v NWO. That was just amazing because we Triple H was doing the crotch drops and we thought, what's going off here? But it was nice to see Sting and Triple H face off for that first bit, size each other up. You got best of both worlds, and then you had DX come out, X-Pac, New Age Outlaws. But then you had the NWO come out, which in some senses doesn't make any sense because obviously NWO were Sting's rivals in WCW until he joined them later on. But before that, he had a massive battle with them. And also, the NWO are part of the clique, well, apart from Hogan. So why would they align themselves against Triple H and Shawn Michaels, who also came down to help Triple H, which was nice to see HBK. But great moment, and it was really nice to see that, and I was excited so much about seeing that at some point, and we've had that now at WrestleMania, so you can't complain. In the end, we had the handshake, which was later, to me, pointless because Triple H showed him the respect by shaking his hand, but then when they had the segment with The Rock and Ronda Rousey, Triple H was disrespecting Sting again, so it really made no sense. That as for whether this is the right decision or not for Triple H to win, depends. I think if Sting doesn't have another match, it is pointless because Sting needs to pick up a victory in WWE. Otherwise, what's the point in coming back really? Other than to have this big kind of WCW v WWE Monday Night War reunion, which they kind of had tonight. It was kind of, for a long time we thought they weren't going to bring the Monday Night Wars into it, but they did. So it's difficult to see where Sting goes from here other than a match with Taker. So I hope that does happen, because otherwise Sting coming to WWE is a bit anticlimactic, really. But yeah. Next, we've got Divas match. It was alright. Yeah. A bit longer than normal, I suppose. Good work from Paige and AJ Lee. I like Paige throwing Nikki, or was it Brie, I can't remember which one, into the steps. That adds that bit of edge to Divas matches, so hopefully they can do something like that with Extreme Rules. So, it was alright. A good victory for Paige and AJ Lee. I'll have to see where that goes. Like I say, maybe a match down at Extreme Rules. Next you had Cena v Rusev. Wasn't really particularly interested in this match. Inevitably Cena won. It looking like now there's going to be a fallout between Lana and Rusev, because Rusev knocked Lana off and blames Lana for the loss, kind of thing. And it also looks like WWE are going to move away from the Russian side of the character, because Michael Cole made several references to him not being from Russia, him actually being from Bulgaria, which we all knew anyway, because he's got a bloody obvious Bulgaria tattoo on his arm. I don't know why they ever thought they were going to do that in the first place. And they were calling him the Bulgarian Brute throughout the match, so I think they'll move away from that now, which, is fair enough, because if I was Rusev, I wouldn't want to be pretending I'm from another country, especially if it's a country that I love so much that I'm going to have tattooed on my arm. So I think that may be the reason for that, but we'll see what happens with and how they go with that. I guess Cena winning and Bryan winning is good for the mid card. You've got two former world champions on the two mid card titles, so it does bring a lot of prestige to the titles. I was thinking at the time it made sense, especially if Lesnar was going to retain, because he would be absent, and you'd have two kind of prime time players really in the mid card. But obviously we've got Rollins now, so it looks good for the titles. I think there's going to be some good feuds coming out of it, even if I wasn't particularly pleased with the winners of the US and the IC. Then, like I mentioned before, you had that segment with Triple H and Stephanie and The Rock and Ronda Rousey, which was, again, more like a money spinner, possibly pointing towards the fact that Ronda Rousey might get a contract in the future if she ever does retire from MMA. But to me, it should have been Austin this, against the Authority. That's what Austin made his name for, and it did feel like Austin should have been a part of this WrestleMania. I know he had part last year, but look, they had everybody who was a major player in WWE history here. You had Hogan, you had Nash, you had Ramon, the NWO, you had DX, you had The Rock, you had all the people doing the IC thing, Piper and Hart and HBK, all these big people from history, and it felt like Austin would have been perfect to come out, and the fact that he wasn't a part of it was a little bit sad, because he is the reason, one of the reasons, a massive reason why WWE is so big, and to not have him a part of this this kind of reunion of all the massive stars. You had Taker and Triple H on the bill. It did feel a bit weird, I have to say, and I'm thinking that one of the reasons why this is, maybe they couldn't organise a fee, or whether Austin just wasn't bothered. But obviously next year you're having WrestleMania 32 in Texas, so I think that's going to be all about Austin. Obviously it's his hometown, so I think next year is going to be the Austin WrestleMania show, so looking forward to that already. Taker v Bray. Taker looked more like badass Taker when he took off his coat and hat, which was nice, a little bit of throwback. I don't know it was intentional or not. Good match, and you had like the Spider v the sit up, and Taker winning, I suppose, was the right the right decision in a way, because you couldn't imagine Taker having 2 losses in a row. But similarly to Rusev and Ambrose, and I was gonna say Rollins until obviously he cashed in. I was thinking, where do these young superstars go from here? They've picked up losses at WrestleMania, so it's difficult to see where Bray Wyatt goes from here. I think they may insert him into the IC title scene, maybe, because Taker's not going to be around unless he does get rejuvenated a bit, and they try and work a rematch at Extreme Rules or something. But I'm going to do a separate video once I've had time to kind of ingest and think about things, and try and work out where each major character goes from here, and where we kind of see the storylines going. But I think overall it's probably the right decision, especially if they're going to lead up to Taker v Sting. And then obviously we had the main event, which I talked about at the start of this video, but just to touch up on that again, it was amazing really to see at the beginning, because it was clear Reigns was getting heat from the fans. When he was walking down, he had to push one fan out of the way, and people were putting the finger up at him, and it wasn't exactly a reaction you think you'd get to a face, or a supposed face. And for most of this match, Lesnar was the face. He was getting cheered when he was German suplexing Reigns all over the place and dominating him. And like I say, it was a good opening match. And then just for the end, Rollins to cash in was just, honestly, I was so excited. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I can't tell you how happy I am. That was the best outcome for me, because I do like both Reigns and Brock, but I'm firmly in the future. And I know Reigns is part of that, but for me, Rollins deserves it. Going through the Indies, working his ass off in NXT, becoming the first NXT champion, and being such a dominant member of the Shield, and the high flyer, take the risks, and the one to break the Shield up and take that chance. And yeah, I'm so happy, and really that's that's the lasting memory of this WrestleMania for me, and I'm happy about that. I really am. And all the performances and the music, and there were good touches to it, but to me, that image of Rollins holding up the belt at the end, that's going to be what kind of stays with me, and I remember from this WrestleMania. So that's about it, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoyed WrestleMania. If you haven't watched it and I've spoiled it, just still go and watch it, even if just I've watched that moment, with Rollins at the title. It's awesome. So yeah, thanks for watching. Like I say, I'll do a video probably tomorrow or the day after about where I think the storylines are going to go from here, similar to what I did at the Rumble. And yeah, keep liking, subscribing, everything, and I'll see you soon. Peace.